and download 8 Ball Pool right now. It's a good game, it's amazing, so go and get it, and I might put it in the link below in the next video. And today we're going to be playing with TVT and Sean, so let's get it. Hopefully he's on. Sean. Well, I don't think he's playing. I'll leave and invite him to my game. Like, join me. So actually good. Sean. Hello. Dance if your mic's broke. Dance if your mic's not broke. Stop dancing. Stop dancing if you're going to put your mic in. Dance if you're going to put your mic in. Do a boogie down if you're going to put your mic in. Right, put your mic in then. Sean, put your mic in. Stop if you're not wanting to put your mic in. Do you dance if you want to put your mic in? Stop dancing if you're going to put your mic in now. Stop dancing if you're going to put your mic in. Do this dance if you're putting your mic in. Sean. Do dance. Do coin flip. This one if you're going to put your mic in. Dance if I should invite you to a party. Lennon! Sean, put your mic in. Put your mic in so we can concentrate. No. Okay, Lucy.
Votes to be counted, and they feel at the end of the day they will be victorious. So for the most part, they're ready if needed, but they hope. I would imagine, though, just my sense of things, that we would need some sort of pivot point, something to go his way, if you will, before that happens. As I imagine the president will want to have something positive to talk about when he does finally address the public, Lester.
That could happen. All right, we'll continue to watch the numbers. Hallie, thanks. I want to go back to Chuck real quick because you were talking about things being close in Georgia. We've got a couple Senate races there, and there's just been a big development.
Oh, there's a huge development. It is a big deal because we now know that there are going to be 2 races that are going to be in runoffs, because as this vote has come in, David Perdue, the incumbent, he's been sitting at about 50 points. Earlier today, I think Blaine said it was 50.004% is what he was sitting at. You know, the joke is to avoid a runoff, you need 50% plus 1. I think there was a time where David Perdue was at the 50% plus 1. Well, now he looks like he's at the 50% minus 1, if you will. For what it's worth, because some people might ask, we have inquired with the Georgia Secretary of State to say, okay, whether it was going to be Ossoff wanting a recount to see if Perdue should be below 50 or in the current position where we are. Can David Perdue ask for a recount to see if he avoided the runoff? Now, the math indicates he wouldn't want to do that because the recount is probably going to lower Perdue's numbers. His provisional ballots in Georgia, the assumption is that it will likely favor the Democratic vote. It isn't clear that he would be in a position to ask for the recount. It was really confusing what the Secretary of State seemed to get confused on, that the margin between the candidates has to be a certain margin before you can ask for the recount, not the margin between the runoff and the candidate. So we're looking for more clarification there on the rules. But David Perdue's campaign earlier today was anticipating this moment. They put out a release expressing confidence he's going to get reelected.
I'm confused now, Sean.
At the end of the release, the campaign manager essentially said, and if it takes overtime, so be it. So that, to me, was the message, subtle message of sending, look, we think it's going to drop below 50. We're not going to fight whether it is or not. We'll go ahead and go into the runoff. So what does that mean? This is a bigger deal than just one Senate race, okay? This is what it means. Let me get our little Senate what-if map up here. I hope that's going to take too long. I'll be perfectly frank on that one. So let me just go to the main Senate map here. We are sitting at 48 with 4 uncalled Senate races, okay? One is Alaska. We're just waiting for a whole bunch of votes. That's going to take a week. Republican is the favorite there, the incumbent Dan Sullivan. The other one is North Carolina, which the math I don't think works for Cal Cunningham. Tom Tillis, the incumbent Republican, he has a bit of a larger lead than the president has over Joe Biden. So all that extra vote we've been waiting for, I don't think it's going to help Tillis. Our folks aren't quite sure yet either. So, but the assumption is Tillis going to do that. So what would that do? Both go to Republican. We'd add 48 Democrats, 50 Republicans, and 2 Senate seats. 2 Senate seats in the state of Georgia. A runoff on the same day in early January for the majority to see which party controls the majority in the United States Senate. Just, you guys know what the stakes are for the majority of the United States Senate.
Arizona, yeah.
We haven't called Arizona. Mark Kelly leads, and we don't know, and he's got a larger, just like with Tillis in North Carolina, Mark Kelly has a larger lead over Martha McSally than Joe Biden has over Donald Trump, and we just don't see, and in fact, Mark Kelly has been getting, it does look like in the presidential, it seems as if that third party is what Mark Kelly is getting. So none of the major party presidential candidates seem to lean towards Mark Kelly. So it's pretty hard for us to see how McSally gets through. So my apologies, you're right. Arizona was technically uncalled on our front. So putting all that aside, it just means that we are headed for a monster epic, not in my lifetime, as a runoff decided. I don't think any of you guys can remember. I think in the turn of the 20th century, never a double runoff. I think in the turn of the 20th century, there was a special House election that determined control of the House, and literally the speakership changed in midterm. But I think that was in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. In the modern era, we've never had this. This is going to be an epic financial battle, an epic everything, and don't pretend to know how you think those runoffs will go, because we've never had so much at stake for one state's set of two runoffs.
A quick question on runoffs in Georgia, because I'm recalling from the Stacey Abrams drama when she was running. You can request it. Who approves?
For the recount, you mean?
I mean the recount, rather. I'm sorry. On the recount, you request it. The Secretary of State has to approve a recount.
Let me show you the rules. We actually...
I've got them here.
Oh.
You got them?
We have them in a nice big chart here, I promise. We've got them all set up here. So here's Georgia. Here's there. There's no automatic recount. You can petition. But you got to be within this margin of 0.5%.
It's confusing language there, but as long as it's within 0.5%,
yes,
you can petition for a recount.
But I think you also have to pay for it yourself too. I don't think the state necessarily will pay for it, but that's always unclear. And then you have to know what type of recount there is. Sometimes there's your hand count, there's your or something like that. Sometimes it's called a recanvass, if you will. Then you could request that recount, or you might ask for the actual, okay, let's go, hand to hand, and that's the type of recount that takes days and days and days.
And that's the kind of recount Al Gore should have asked for. And remember, he only asked for
going back 20 years to another cliffhanger, if you will. All right, Chuck, thanks for that. Let's go to Jeff Bennett. He's in Wilmington, Delaware, his headquarters. You were with us a bit earlier. You saw the former vice president come out and make a brief statement. What is the thinking? How are they handling this? They really can't, neither candidate can control their fates at this point, but they can control, I guess, image and a sense of where things may go.
Yeah, you're right. First, I can tell you my phone is blowing up with lots of texts from Democratic sources and campaign staffers who are mighty happy to hear that news that Chuck just announced about the Perdue-Ossoff race going to a runoff. But the mood within the campaign right now, around this time last night, was one of cautious optimism. Right now, they're saying that victory is imminent. And I think that was best expressed by the candidate himself, Joe Biden, who spoke earlier today. And he says he has no doubt that by the time all of the votes are counted, he said, that both he and Senator Kamala Harris will be the next president and vice president of the United States. And here in Wilmington, in the last hour or so, we heard a sound check on the stage there behind me, the workers putting some final preparations there. To be clear, nothing is planned, but they are preparing for any potential development where Joe Biden might have to here and deliver a speech. But if you go state by state, in Arizona, the campaign is already claiming Arizona as a win, even though, to be clear, NBC News has not projected a winner in Arizona. In Pennsylvania, they're saying be patient, but they think that by the time all of the vote comes in, Joe Biden will be able to claim that state by a healthy margin. In Georgia, yesterday they were saying it was a toss-up. Now they think it tilts to Joe Biden's favor. And then as it relates to all of these Trump campaign lawsuits, Bob Bauer, who is the counsel for the Biden campaign, said he views that as being another form of Trump campaign disinformation. He said that the Trump campaign is trying to create a cloud, he said, but he said that lawyers can see through it, the courts can see through it, and effectively the American people, he hopes, will be able to see through it as well. Lester.
All right, thank you for that. We're waiting, by the way, for a briefing from Pennsylvania by the Secretary of State there with an election update. We've been watching the numbers in Pennsylvania move at a fairly good clip. Let's go to NBC's Rahima Ellis, who is in Philadelphia. You can perhaps help us understand their pace and how they're doing. Rahima?
One of the things, Lester, one of the things I should tell you is that we are, to your point, expecting a presser from the Secretary of State who oversees elections here in this area. And one of the things that they're saying is that experts, officials expect that most of the voting will be counted possibly by tomorrow, and who knows, maybe even sooner. The numbers that we're seeing, as Chuck has been pointing out, Biden is shrinking Trump's lead here. Interestingly enough, the Trump team has mounted an aggressive campaign in court to intervene in the mail ballot counting. They went into court saying, in their words, that election officials were hiding the mail ballot counting from Republican poll observers. What they got this morning was a ruling from the state Commonwealth Court in favor of the Trump team, which said poll watchers can now be 6 feet from the mail ballot counters instead of the original 20 feet. As a result of that, Philadelphia, and where the counting is going on behind me, they paused the counting because they said they wanted to review that court ruling. Subsequently, they resumed that counting, and they say they're going furiously. Let me just add a couple of numbers in here to show you how fast it seems to be going. When I left here from reporting at about 1 o'clock in the morning, the state was saying that they had something like 763,000 mail-in ballots statewide still to be counted. When I came at 11 o'clock, that number was 369,000. That's upwards of 400 plus thousand mail-in ballots they had counted.
So I'm gonna.
The state attorney general here in
So
Pennsylvania,
yeah, that's it for today, guys.
they are going
Done
to count
unlucky
all these
there,
ballots, regardless who it favors.
Yeah, I'll come back tomorrow with a vlog. So
We saw, I think we had a graphic up
stay
earlier
tuned.